video I'm going to be looking at replacing the face of this beautiful Elgin watch with one of two faces, and I'm hoping they fit. This one here and or this one here. Now you could probably guess what these faces are, but this is an authentic Elgin face. I'm going to let you guess for a few seconds and ponder about it while I do this job. And this is also an authentic Elgin face. So these were not manufactured recently. These are new old stock vintage. So what I'm hoping here is that the feet here fit into the dial feet, or what you want to call them, fit into the appropriate movement openings, and that this actually fits. I don't know yet. I love the face on this watch here. It's immaculate. However, I'm going to try to replace it just to see what it looks like, because chances are I'll keep this watch forever. And because of that, I want it to be unique. So see if I can change the time on this thing. My God, stiff as heck. Oh, you know what? I am not very smart. I got so many pocket watches, I'm not sure how they work anymore. All you got to do is flip this lever out, this lever set, like so, and then you move it like this. And you can see the hands are not aligned properly, so I can fix that problem while I'm at it. So the first thing I do is remove the hands from the watch, which is a fairly easy task. And carefully do it, of course. And I don't think you need a lot of tools for this particular activity. This is pretty easy. So it's you could, if you're really keen, or you could stop the watch and move it on from there, but I'm not that good, so I'm just going to slip this under here and then work it off. There we go. That's one. And I'll show you this little tool holder I made yesterday in a few seconds. But anyway, that's one. Just put this out of the way. So I learned a long time ago that if you don't put the parts out of the way, they get stuck to your arm, and then they end up somewhere like on the floor. I think I need a new piece of paper with a cut in it here. So it's vital that you actually keep the parts organized and out of the way, so as not to get stuck on your forearm and end up somewhere else. I also use an old piece of Rodico here to just pick the hands up nice and gently instead of using my tweezers. So there we go there. That's out. And I have to flick this back in, I believe, again. And I think I've serviced this watch a long time ago. But again, I don't recall, because I've got something like 65, 70 pocket watches. So this is an Elgin 573 movement, more than likely from the 40s, 30s or 40s. So it's an older. It's not that old compared to some of my other movements. This thing's, well, it's almost new. You could say it's almost new anyway. And so all you have to do is take out the case screws here. That one looks like it was on its way out anyway, so I'm not sure why, but I wear this watch most of the time, so I like it. It's got a great amplitude on it. It keeps exceptional time. I've adjusted it perfectly. I had to undercut the screws on this, on the balance, to perfectly adjust it, because it wasn't giving me enough movement on the regulator, so that was tricky. And on this watch here, and on some of the later Elgin watches, you'll see that there's a screw right there that you have to undo. and that helps you pull out the actual crown and stem. So, and normally I'd have this in an opener of some sort, so seeing it's friggin' tight. Can I lay this down? I don't want to, but I want to get a little bit of pressure on this screw here so I don't strip it in any manner. Oh, there we go. It is. And then when you unscrew that, don't do it too much, because if you unscrew it too much, the plate it holds onto then comes off. So I usually unscrew it and then screw it back in again. Just about 2 or 3 turns. There we go there. And I'm going to see if I can find a movement holder for it. Got a bunch of these really good movement holders, like tons of them. They're like rings. So I just love them because the movement just sits in here nicely. And this one actually is a bit, because of this, the lever set, it's a bit small, but maybe when I flip it around here it'll be good. So I just want to make sure that the balance isn't touching anything when I do that. So that's perfect. That's perfect in there. I might be able to find a smaller one to use here instead of this one, but let's have a look at this one here. No, it is not smaller. And what about this one here? So I like it to be relatively, nope, that's not smaller either. So I'm just going to put up with this. So there's the movement. And I'm going to put these screwdrivers back in the right place. And what I have to do now is loosen the dial. I'm hoping this works. So all you do here is you unscrew the screws on the side here. I've done this in tons of videos already, but you unscrew these screws here. There we go. And when you're unscrewing a screw like this, you really got to make sure there's a controlled amount of pressure on the screw. If you push too hard, it's possible that something slips and then you have a bigger problem. If you push too light, then it's possible the screw doesn't come out. And I believe there's 3 of them here. 1, 2, and this is the 3rd one here. But you have to, I'm hoping it's, yeah, okay, that was easy. First one was stuck a bit. And then you watch where your hands are with respect to the balance, because it's very possible to screw the balance up. So then what I'm going to do, sometimes next to the screw there's a slot to push up on that, but this watch doesn't have it. It just has a you just put the screwdriver in and then slowly and carefully wedge it out. And as you wedge it out, you put your finger where the face is on the movement. So as you're wedging on one side, it doesn't go back on the other side. Then you're playing that teeter-totter game that all these watchmakers love to play. So you use your hand to actually hold the position. And then when you're ready, you could probably just take it straight out. So there we go. There's the face. Now I'm going to just put this down for a second and have a look at where these ones are. And I think I may have the right feet here, because it is an Elgin face. So let me see. So to line the face up, find the stem where it goes in, right there. And then you make sure that you didn't drop anything here. There's usually a leaf here, but it doesn't seem, this one doesn't seem to have one. So as you take the face off here, you could end up losing the leaf. Everything else seems to be intact. Just examine it really quickly. Everything seems to be in pretty good working order. So yeah, so there we go. See, I'm just examining to see if I should be oiling anything, but I don't think I will, not this time anyway. So let's see if this face fits. back in here where it's supposed to fit. Oh my god, I think it fits. I might have to loosen this screw up a little bit here more. I think that, there we go. That is absolutely flat. Now, have you figured out what this dial is? If you think it's from the Masons, you're right. So it's a Masonic dial made by Elgin. Some people call it Elgin, but I call it Elgin. And the Masonic dials, this Masonic dial was probably made, you know, custom made for the movement, the Masonic movement by Elgin. I'm not sure, maybe it was one of their, you know, their water buffalo meetings. I used to watch the Flintstones a lot when I was a kid. And if you recall from the Flintstones, the way to get into the Water Buffalo Club was to, the code word was ack, ack, a dack. And then you'd say dack, dack, a ack, and that got you in. So there we go. There's the dial and the movement. So I'm going to see, I'm just going to replace the hands here quickly. Try not to make this a challenging job. Remember when I started doing watch repair years ago, hands were the biggest pain in the butt because it was aligning them and tilting them and everything else. And then I discovered Rodico, which you use just to pick the hand up and then place it down on the dial, and then use the appropriate movement holder to, or the appropriate hand tool to push down. So I just put it down like that, and then I make sure it's somewhat aligned, and you can use the Rodico again to help you align it. And I look down on it to see if it's aligned, and it looks like it's 12 o'clock. And then as you push down on it, you gotta make sure you don't push inappropriately hard, but it has to go on. So just rock it a little bit and then put it in place. And so this looks like it's down pretty good. And then you check the surface of the dial. Just check it sideways to make sure there's the appropriate gap. As you can see, just a slight gap. It's got to rise above the second hand when it goes through. So now in this case, it's just over from 12 o'clock a bit. So when you put on the minute hand, you've got to make sure the minute hand now is not straight up. So you look at the markings. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 markings, and this is over just ever so slightly. Now you can use a stem and then wind it back and then see what that is, but I just tend to I say if that's center here, which would be the 30 mark, and I go a third of that, 30 would get you 10 minutes. So it's almost at the 10-minute mark, just short of it, or just shy of the 10-minute mark. So I'll put it right here and see if this lines up properly. Again, lining it up like this. Make sure that the hand is above the other hand, because when it flies by, you could have an issue. I'm hoping that's, yeah, that looks like it's good. And then the second hand is dead easy. So you just grab the second hand again with a piece of Rodico. I usually use a screwdriver for the second hand, and you just tip it in like this, and then you find the hole as you rest it in sideways, and then the hole looks like it's right there. And then you can see it moving, and then you got to push it down. But I can see from the movement itself. Is that good? Yeah, it's pretty funky. So this second hand doesn't fit into the grooves there, it just rides right on the edge, which is probably perfect. So it's, yeah, so that is really good. So I will store this face so it doesn't get damaged because it's in mint condition. And then I just need to case it again. So look at the case here. Got to figure which way is up and which way is down. Well, I've got the case out. I think I'll just scrub this right here a little bit. Get some of the gum off of it. I might have repaired this movement. I absolutely repaired it because I buy broken movements, so I don't buy new ones. So I repaired it, but I probably just threw it back in the case without having to look at the case again. So the case is in actually pretty good condition. So, but nothing like taking a bit of the grease off of it, and just to make sure the threads aren't gummed up. So that's that, and then got to place it back in there. So just check where the it goes right in there with that. So I flip it up the upside down way. Make sure I don't touch the balance or the hands with my fingers as I put it back in the case, and make sure it's on the upside. Okay, I think it goes like this, like so, and there's a groove there for the whatever this. Someone said you should memorize the watch parts. I think it was probably an expert watch maintenance person. So they'd be probably mad at me for not memorizing what things are called. So I want to just rotate it a bit here. So I'll do it from the back so I don't gum up the movement itself. Then I can put the stem back in. And I think it should go all the way back in here. But as you recall, I need to loosen that screw again. So I get the screwdriver out in the appropriate size. Grab that screw, give it a couple of turns. And then it's back in place. And I got to tighten the screw again. Give it a couple of turns. Make sure it's tight. Make sure this thing can wind. Yeah. And then I got to put this case screws back in very carefully. I put one here. Geez, my hands were shaking a little bit there for a second. I know I have like steady hands, so. But this arm here is a little bit tired. So it's probably from working on that Hebdomas movement that I made the video on, an hour and 57-minute video. So if you watch that video of the complete teardown of that watch, I have a little bit of cleaning stuff there, but mainly it's a teardown, and I turned the camera off to clean it. If you're able to watch that for an hour and 57 minutes, God bless you. So what you got to do is wait till your wife's out of town. If you're a man, and if you're a woman and you're doing watch repair, and there are some women that do watch repair, then wait till your husband's out of town. And then attack the thing with vigor. Watch that instead of watching a Netflix movie, because it's probably way more interesting than that. So there you go there. And while I got this open a bit, I'm actually going to take an old towel here and just clean this off a bit. I know I don't need to oil it because it's running perfectly, and you shouldn't over oil it, and I probably oiled it when I did work on it, and I don't want to get my cloth in here where the jewels are, because it'll take the oil away from the jewels. So there, oil it a bit, and then put the case back on. And again, when you're putting the case back on, don't cross the threads. So you hold it very lightly, like this, and then you turn it and let it fall into place, like that. And before I put the face back on, I'm going to see if this thing is lined up to 12. There you go, 12. That was pretty darn accurate. That's right on the money. And if you look at this, when I go to 12:30, here you'll see that the hands are halfway. The minute or the hour hand is halfway in between the little dashes up there. So that's absolutely perfect. Probably would be nice to have nicer hands on this, but for now I'm just going to leave it like this. And it seems, and I'm going to rotate it around to see if it floats over the second hand perfectly. And look inside, you just look inside the gap there. I'm going to try to show it to you. So if you look inside the gap, I'm not sure if this thing will focus or not. There we go, it's focused. And then you see the gap between the hour hand and the second hand. As the second hand goes around, you just have to make sure that gap remains. And as I pull the hands around here, you'll see how the minute hand floats over the hour hand, and I've got a gap in there as well. So you just have to make sure that happens, because if you hit the second hand, the watch will stop. If you hit the minute hand hits the hour hand, which sometimes happens, the watch will stop. And sometimes it'll stop for the dumbest reasons. So it's all math, it's all physics, it's all engineering. I tell you I was an engineer. 10:41, so it's 10:41. I actually don't like moving the watch backwards in the gears. I'm just one of those guys. 10:41, so there's 10, and there's 30, 41, and I'll give it a little bit because it's probably going to be 42 in a few seconds. There, 10:42. Push this back in. Bam. 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 Now I take the face and the crystal, and same as before, very lightly. If you feel any friction or anything at all, check it and make sure that it's. I always check and see if there's a gap and a crack here, and it seems like it's hugging on one side, not the other. So just very lightly find its groove. This baby's got there we go. So you check the edges like that, and there it is. So that is a Mason pocket watch. Now I could have put in the other one, the other face I had, this one here, which is a little more evil, but I wouldn't be able to see the hands, so I'm gonna wait till I get a set of hands that are lighter, and then use this. And then I gotta look at these symbols, because you've got an arrow here, up here you've got a skull and crossbones, you got sort of a hammer and a measuring tool, you got an oiling thing. So I think the Masons are engineers too. So anyway, this is a Mason pocket watch, which now is extremely unique, and it's an Elgin Mason pocket watch. So anybody want to buy it? $500. Anyway, I'm not going to sell it, but you can send me some funny notes anyway. So that's the video. It's 24 minutes long, which is way too long, but I'm going to put it on YouTube anyway because I was successful. Thank you very much for